So one thing that can never be avoided in football is comparing players. In any era at all, players will always be compared. We've seen Pele versus Maradona. We've seen Salah versus Hazard. We've seen John Terry versus Vidic. Let's get serious, please. We've seen John Terry versus Vidic, and we've seen some that died natural death, like De Bruyne versus Fernandez, and those dead comparisons like that. One thing remains factual is the fact that player comparisons will never go away. In this video, we're asking the all-important question: what is the right way to compare players, or more importantly, what are the right factors used to compare players? Like, I really don't know now. There's a particular comparison going online. I'm actually angry about it.
Which one?
I'm angry about it. But I mean, you guys, I want you guys to give your opinion.
It's an Arsenal player.
It's an Arsenal player.
Tell us the comparison.
I'm angry about it. But I actually think it gives me insight into this question: what is the right way to compare players? Because with these two players, I don't think they are being compared the right way. Palmer versus Saka.
Okay.
Now I'm seeing people going on, oh, Palmer is a better player than Saka, blah 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 blah. I don't even think the comparison makes sense to start with. But yeah, let's go into.
What was your reason for, like,
why do you think
it doesn't make sense from your own perspective?
First of all, they are not the same kind of players. That's why we are going to go into this video. How should players be compared? I don't think players that don't even play the same profiles, that don't have the same profiles, should be compared.
But we always have
they are not similar
the Messi and Ronaldo
but we've seen
comparison.
Saka and Foden being compared, which is the same issue.
I've said it that it doesn't make sense too as well. It doesn't, but the problem
because
with Foden,
that was allowed to fly,
the problem with Foden is Foden became a victim of his own brilliance. Like, he was being played all over.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
he was being played
roles.
everywhere. So people will come, oh, we've seen him at right wing, we've seen Saka to at right. Why can't we compare him? But we both know if we want to go deep, they should not be compared. But anyways, let's go right into this video and what we are talking about. What is the actual way? Like, what is the right way to compare players? How do you compare players for you? When you see player A versus player B, what do you look at?
Okay, first of all, you've already mentioned profiles. It's very, very important. And I'll give an example. And I think it comes back to also the way people analyze performance.
Yeah.
Because people don't get it right. For instance, last season, when PSG were in the Champions League latter stages, they were playing Mbappe as a 9. But people were analyzing Mbappe's performance as if he was playing on the left wing.
Yeah.
So they come and say he didn't dribble enough, he couldn't carry the ball and go and do something. He's playing as a 9. His instructions are to pin the centre backs, maybe come deep sometimes and link play, but don't touch the ball too much. So he had to wait for the build-up to happen. It's the same thing that's happening in Madrid now. He has to wait for the ball to get to the final third before he can do anything. Meanwhile, Vini, who plays on the left, has to drop deep to pick up the ball sometimes and ball carry. So you are seeing Mbappe not do certain things that he'll do as a left winger. And you are now insulting him that he's not playing well, because you are not analyzing him based on his role. But rather based on what you think his position should be. Yeah. And everything springs from that. Now, when people talk about players, they don't seem to understand how to analyze the performance before you now even go into the profile. If you ask people to define like profiles, they really don't know. Yeah. So that's why you see very weird comparisons. You're like, these guys they don't have the same role. They don't play the same, And that's the first one. But the second thing I also want to note is that people have no respect for track record. And this thing annoys me. Now, you can praise someone for being great in the moment, right? Or maybe having a good season. But track record matters. You can't say, for instance, a KDB that has been doing it for 7-8 years.
Yeah.
Is not as good as someone who just started doing it maybe for the last 2 seasons. It's like waking up and saying Palmer is better than KDB because of what he has done in the last 2 seasons. Now, he may have done something.
This thing you're saying is, this is my anger with Barcelona fans and
Yamal,
This is my anger
you can't
them.
come out and say this is the best.
The kid is quality, is class. But if he does this for like 2 or 3 more seasons.
Yeah, exactly. You can't come out and say a 17-year-old with 2 seasons under his belt is the best right winger in the world. It doesn't work like that.
Make sense.
Even before we started saying Vini is the best left winger in the world, he had to show it 3
seasons,
4 seasons before everybody now started saying, okay, his first season where he actually took off, everybody was still chill about it. As much as he had a great season, even won the Champions League, where everybody was like, chill. Then waited to see the second season. Then the third season, by the third season, everyone was like, okay.
Just killed every argument.
So track record matters. Saka, for instance, has been doing it for 3, 4, 5 seasons. You're seeing the progression also. He's getting better every season and everything. A player can't just wake up today and be better than Saka off one season. You have to see that player also put in that work.
3, 4 seasons,
3, 4 seasons before you can now say, okay, it's starting to make sense to compare. That, for me, that's really it.
When it still comes to comparison, sometimes you also look at the timeline. Like what Sarah just said, for the 3, 4 seasons. But you can also compare a player based on just that season. We know
then you add that.
No, that's the form. That's why we say that's those room. You can also give room for that kind of comparison.
But you don't give.
Yes, you can't make it ambiguous and
say this now better than.
But then you can always talk about the season. That's why you can have
this season, this player is better than this person.
If you say Palmer is on better form than XXX amount of players in the Premier League.
He has been the best player
this season. Nobody will argue
that's why it's still a comparison. I'm saying we're looking at, you also look at the time band, and then because every player would have what they bring to the table, and because of the roles they play. One other thing we have to look at is the numbers, their stats. What do they do?
Sure.
Because if you are just saying the roles that they do, every team plays different kind of style of football. Which means we cannot really say, because we see that, let's look like Lamine, how he can pick up the spaces, try to break through, get the assist. Another player might be doing something differently for their teams. So it becomes very difficult for you to even now say, let's just use what you bring to your team. That's why we'll bring the numbers. And that's why I think they're talking about the Cole Palmer and Saka. Because for Cole Palmer to have scored just that 4 goals he scored in the first half of the game Chelsea had, you could even see pundits saying he's the best player so far in the season, and it becomes shocking.
Carragher came out to say he's the best player in the Premier League,
and that was shocking.
I think that's
so that's the thing. We can't really judge players based on their roles completely. Let's talk about the team the player also plays. How strong is that team? What is the level of competition?
I would like to slightly disagree with you a bit. He said we should bring in numbers. You know why I don't trust numbers all the time? I feel like we need to blend in numbers with eye test. Lewandowski plays for what country?
Poland.
He would never score goals. Imagine Lewandowski. He would never score as much goals as if he was playing. Imagine he was playing for Spain. Imagine Lewandowski playing for France. Especially. Imagine how many goals he would have scored if he was playing for France. Now Giroud in France has a better track record than most of your elite forwards. Giroud in France, because he's lucky to be playing. He's good on his own, don't get me wrong, but he's also lucky to be playing in that kind of team. So if you are going to look at numbers alone, then Giroud and players like Lukaku are better than most of your elite forwards.
But if you look at
someone
that
like Vinicius has only how many goals for Brazil?
But if you look at the numbers too, let's still show that any player that is quite good will step up. Haaland is playing for which country?
No.
I'm saying that.
I'm saying you need to blend it with the eye test as well.
Definitely. There's no way you won't bring in the eye test. But then there are positions you play that no matter the country you want to play, we still look at your stats.
Of course.
We still want to ask those questions.
We still expect you to.
Even for it's like defenders.
But in major tournaments, I can give Lewandowski a pass because he plays for Poland. Now, is this country's all-time top scorer?
That's why I said even the numbers are still there to back it up.
He has numbers different.
But in major tournaments, it becomes harder.
Okay, let's talk about the stats now. Okay, let's talk about our own striker, Victor Osimhen. Look at the number of goals he has scored for Nigeria. Majority of them came from the South Tome and Principe.
It's not 6 from South Tome.
There's always going to be that. It's like when we see Ronaldo hit the number, they say he's playing San Marino and all of that.
He played, but Messi is also.
But there are others who play San Marino and they're not doing it.
So that's what I'm saying. You always those numbers.
Also, I think one thing that people don't also do with stats is they don't know how to use stats for specific roles and positions.
What's that one that you usually hate? There's one that's
possession loss. If I see that stat, if that stat is a real life person, I'll fight that stat. What annoys me is that the likes of Squawker and Who Scored and Co, they use it to push agenda. We saw it a lot with Pogba back then. You know that this thing that you're talking about, and it's also very contextual, depends on the game, the state of the game. For instance, in that 6-1, PSG, Barcelona.
Yeah.
Barcelona had to go for it. Barcelona had to go for it because at that point in time they were desperate. They needed goals. So Neymar took it upon himself, carried the ball. He was shooting, he was crossing, he was trying everything. You're not penalizing players for crossing the ball. The best crossers.
Yeah.
I don't even think there's a way to even gauge that by stats because you really can't. You can't control.
Because they keep
You control
floating
very
in the
little.
ball.
You can float a very beautiful ball, but defenders have the upper hand in the box. They are supposed to dominate. The best you see in terms of percentage is maybe 30%, and that's for like extra good. Typically, it's like 21% completion for crosses. That means that for the remaining 79%, you are penalizing the player for crosses.
And that doesn't make sense.
Go and look at possession loss in the Premier League. It's fullbacks.
Yeah, okay. So let me just ask this question here that actually causes chaos sometimes. So asking about the right way to compare players, Trent Alexander-Arnold, people say he's one of the best right backs in the Premier League. I disagree. I don't think he's a very good right back. The primary job of a right back, I don't think he's doing it. He's more praised as a defender for his attacking prowess than what he does defensively. And that brings me back to this question. How exactly should we be judging players based on their output or what they should actually be doing in their positions? Because, I mean, I love Bellingham a lot. I love Bellingham a lot. I see what he's doing. I see what he brings. He has proved that he can be a good player at Dortmund, Real Madrid for England, whatnot. But you look at his season last season, and were people actually feeling the impact of his play, or was he getting the praise because of his goals?
I think that thing is what Lampard, for instance, suffers from.
So like my question with Trent is, are we going to judge him as a good? If we are talking about passing, attacking ability, he's probably the best right back or full back in the Prem. Or are we supposed to judge him based on that or based on his defensive abilities? Because 1v1 and whatnot is terrible.
It depends on what the coach wants.
No, forget the coach now. How should we rank
we know that as a
player?
right back, you should be very good defensively.
Yeah.
But for every setup he has gone in, the coaches have loved his offensive threats. You talk about for club, even for England, and that's why he was able to.
And Liverpool have won with him at right back.
They've won
and
that's
at right
like very. They faced
that's why he was able to bench the former United.
I'm saying player comparison,
right back.
A versus B.
Yes,
I think you have to find a balance.
Right back that is very good with interception.
For which country? Which club?
For United now. He went to Crystal Palace.
AWB.
Yes, Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Spider-Man.
Wan-Bissaka was so good with his interceptions.
You need balance.
1v1.
No, I don't see any player that came close to him.
Mendy of Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Mendy is not good going forward.
Yes, but
defensively, you're not going anywhere. Mendy, because he recovers is very fast. He recovers quickly, and it's very hard to beat him.
And you know why he doesn't really bother?
You know what I'm pissed about this thing? Why are we praising Trent for one thing and we're slandering Zinchenko for the same thing? Zinchenko will give you that extra weight from left back, but we know that defensively he's terrible.
I think it depends on what.
We know that defensively Zinchenko is terrible.
It starts from the club and the fans themselves. It depends on what you people prefer. You know, for instance, if you are going to play PSG,
I will not use Zinchenko. That's
precisely.
But you can play. But you can play PSG and play Trent.
Yeah, and he has done that many times. But what I wanted to bring out is that, for instance, when we are comparing players in the modern era or players in the former era, when we look at people try to use stats to compare a David Beckham,
it does not make sense.
To
never make sense.
Robert Pires, to current right wingers.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these guys are more advanced than those guys used to be. Beckham was playing as a wide midfielder.
Yeah.
Yes, he would cross, but even some of his crosses were from deep.
Yeah.
He didn't even, and he had to rely on crossing. Of course, you're not comparing goals. They were not. They were not inside fours or exactly. Whatever. They had defensive duties that were greater than what players nowadays having to do, because the system was different and the way their roles were interpreted at the time was different. But then,
I mean, Inzaghi in our current are we going to call him who he's very brilliant as a forward.
It depends on if he's scoring goals now.
Yes.
He just needs to score goals. But of course, even back then, Inzaghi was not rated like that.
But he was
You know,
rated.
with the
He
way
wasn't
he's-
rated like that.
No,
Like
but,
there was a tier you couldn't put him.
No, but
Yeah.
if you call him now, like if we're talking about, you can still call him and you call him one of the big players.
But
too.
there was a tier you couldn't put him. You couldn't put him with Batistuta. If you like to score 50 goals, you couldn't put him with Batistuta. You couldn't put him with Thierry Henry. You get so
But
there was a ceiling for players like that. But I think football is different now. Football relies more on specialists.
Yes, like
Everybody has to be a specialist in something. We don't want
I'm not
the
just being a
all-rounders.
specialist. The numbers is the one that pays the biggest prize now,
Stats.
because that's why
Again.
Celtic can go and be taking. Why will you be playing Dortmund?
But
like,
again, stats.
Stats
You
can
have
be
to know what
deceiving.
stats. For
Stats
instance,
can be deceiving.
dribbles passed. Using dribbles passed for central midfielders, I think it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And guess who will fuel it? Squawker.
Because if you're
And
saying
because
stats,
they used to
players
get
like
interactions.
Gyökeres and Coach should have been getting more plaudits.
Yeah.
Gyökeres for what he did.
43 goals last season.
For
Didn't
3
get the
goals
Ballon
last
d'Or
season,
nomination.
was not even
See
nominated.
Girassi, he has started scoring again this season as well.
Yes.
He's not getting.
So
So
it's-
again, we are even picking and choosing. But for instance, going back to that thing I was saying about like central midfielders, and in central midfield, you will get dribbled past.
Yeah.
All they have to do is push the ball past you. There's
Count
too
it-
much space on
counts
either
against
side.
you. Yeah.
But if I want to use dribbled past, I'll use it for a fullback.
Yes.
Because now you have
1v1.
you have
Yes,
an
you have the
advantage and you're
advantage,
1v1.
you're
So the
supposed
person
to.
has to actually dribble you to get past you. That's different. But you see people saying, this midfielder was dribbled past 4 times. If it's not dribbled past, especially with this system, it's very, very system reliant as well.
Yeah.
Even defensive stats are system reliant. They rely on, how the distance is between the midfield and, the defense, and a lot more factors. If you are playing a small team, you have more interceptions and tackles now.
Yes.
You can't be playing at Arsenal sorry, I almost said Manchester United. Oh my god. You can't play at
They
Arsenal
have
or
to come
Manchester
for you
City.
anyway, so.
And expect to be doing. The only problem is that for clubs like Man U, their goalkeeper will be making more saves than relegation
Ederson.
keepers.
That's why people would want to compare goalkeepers, and you can't be using
can't
number
compare
of
keepers
saves.
based on
Sometimes,
number of saves.
Yes, because some of
So
the
it's just
clubs,
about
Fair
applying
point, fair point.
it at the end of the
Like-
day.
Anyways, I mean, we can go on and on and on, and we'll never come to, we'll never come to a definite answer. I think I'll just go with what you said, that we should have to find a balance when it comes to comparing
Always.
players. But I think the key takeaway from this video is that there are certain factors to consider when it comes to comparing players. Don't just go and see this guy scored 4 goals in one game, so it's the best thing after sliced bread.
bread.
I don't think it should be. I think there should be context put into these things, and
In fact, I think
there
data
more-
should be for scouts.
It should be for scouts.
But
No, I
Yes.
think
at
we're
the end,
allowed to.
coaches still go for
we're
what they
allowed to-
want.
Football has been over democratized.
Well, we'll come to that another day. How data should be interpreted. But for now, that's all the time we have in this video. It's been a nice time talking about players and the right way to compare them. You can see that myself, Sarah, and Zini, we all have different standpoints, and we are sure you have a different standpoint as well. We'd like to hear from you in the comment section below. What do you think is the right way to compare players, and how should players be compared before we can make a conclusion that A is better than B? We're looking to hear from you. Make sure to join us on our social media platform, showing right there on your screen, and also share this video with your friends. Until we come your way next time.